If we're going to build a new house, which wasn't our original goal, but if we're going to do it, we want to do it, for me it's important to do it in a way that's sustainable, that is densifying for towns, because I think that's going to be part of our global solution over time, is to continue to densify where we live, but make it very livable too. It doesn't help if we're all living in on top of one another in a way that people aren't able to meet those really basic needs like access to the outdoors.
SmartPads started really with an idea of building affordable housing, and we quickly learned that's very difficult to build affordable housing, especially in a ski town. So we really more call it attainable.
When we were thinking about the design of this place, we were constrained by the lot that we decided to build on. And that actually led to some design decisions that I think were really positive. One was to put all of the living area on the second floor. That was necessary because we had a fairly narrow lot. It was also, we were going to be lower down in this lot than we, just because of the need for the foundation grade and so on. And so by bringing the second floor up, it actually, I think it gives us much better views of the surrounding neighborhood. It's quieter, and we have these great windows up here that we really take advantage of from a design standpoint. But also those great windows provide some thermal benefits as well, certainly in the winter for sure.
But we designed it was all about the functionality and how can you make a space that small into something that's very livable, but also it was very efficient. So, and some of the features that started with that home, as we've grown into now more single-family homes, and that's really what we focus on now. We still do some of the tiny homes, but the sustainable features originally were like, how can we create a home that's very well insulated? And so everything is it's closed cell foam and 3.5 inches in the walls, plus bats as well. And so that foam is one of the most important parts of sealing up a home to stop leakages of air. But in that you have to put in ERV units, which help bring fresh air in. So it becomes a more expensive way to build, but in the end you end up with utility bills that are extremely low because you're not losing all your heat through a house that breathes, which is how houses traditionally have been built for years and years.
We wanted to build close to town. We first of all were looking for just homes to buy, but we were doing this at the time, at the very beginning of the COVID outbreak, so it was very difficult first to see houses. Also, we weren't finding exactly the kind of thing we really liked, and we went up to Sunlight, where SmartPads has built several homes, and we really liked the designs of those. But we wanted to be close to town, walkable distance basically, or at least biking distance. So we're trying to have just one car. So that was pretty important to both of us, I think. When we learned about the availability of this lot in an existing neighborhood and in an infill opportunity, that for me was perfect because I'm interested in that kind of densification in cities.
And the other thing is the verticality of the build. It's very up and down build, and we move modules very slightly forward and backwards. Partly is what we do is we create a bit of architectural articulation, which allows a more square home to have bump outs and different material combination sets that really give it a nice aesthetic still, rather than just being square, which is very different to old school modulars. They just were square. We're very, very keen on the design, making sure that it's a high aesthetic, and that volume of space is what makes a small footprint somehow feel a lot more spacious. And that's how, from a sustainability point of view, you have volume that allows small space to feel better, so you don't have to build as big.
It's a fairly narrow lot. It's only about 50 feet wide, and you have to have 10-foot setbacks from each property line, so that meant the width of the home was going to be pretty limited. It also has a grade on the back end, about a 7-foot grade change between the front of the house, from the street on the front and the alley in the back, which meant the house had to be lower than it kind of appeared initially, just looking at the lot. So that's partly why we decided to do the living area on the second floor, because we wanted to get the benefits of being up top, of having those views and so on.
Each lot has its own dimensional standards. Some are skinny lots, some are a little bit wider, some have setbacks that are different. So we have almost designed 80% of our homes individually, specifically to their lot size. So we're a custom, high-end, modular, so each one is unique and it's designed for the lot, it's designed for the clients, and to make sure that the spaces are working for them personally.
I think and also since Annie and I are now empty nesters, we can be on one floor for 90% of our time. Annie has an office downstairs that she'll be using a lot, but I can see us mostly living up in this relatively small space on the second floor with our guest bedrooms or our kids' bedrooms. It's a really efficient use of space. There isn't any wasted space here.
The house was designed, as you can feel the sun's coming in from the south, and in the winter especially, as it lowers, you've got these beautiful window sets that let that sun come in, and you have a lot of solar gain coming in here. And as Tim, the owner, was saying, they really feel light. There's a ton of light coming in from the south. The window sets have been specifically done. The kitchen's been put on the other side, so it's on the north facing side, which you don't want a lot of windows, also for privacy. So you get a lot of solar gain here.
There's space for private places, whether it's the back deck on the east side off the master bedroom and off the landing, so it's accessible to everybody, or the bedrooms downstairs or the office downstairs or the front deck. And yet there's also this sense where people want to move into this area where you've got the kitchen and the dining area and the living area and the deck. And so already, just with Zoe and Tim and myself here, we find ourselves together a lot of the time here, but also able to retreat when we want to.
So one thing you'll notice about the home, SmartPads is always right from the beginning about how can we not waste space. So if you go into some houses, you'll see that there's long hallways and there's spaces that people don't use. We're very much about, let's start with what is the main areas that you'll be using? What is the flow of the family? What areas do we need to focus on? We do not want to see any hallways, but that's wasted space. And so from the outset, we start with those two ideas, and then we come up with a design that isn't just saying, hey, how many bedrooms do you want? It's like, let's talk about how the flow of the family works, and then let's make sure that we've got no hallways and no wasted space. And we put all those things together, and that's when we design the home. So it's really coming from the wasted space in houses can be considerable, and it's space that you don't need, it's space you're heating, it's space that doesn't really get used very often and not necessary.
And I think we have a need as human beings, and we certainly do as people, to both feel like our home is a sanctuary, but it's not it's not a castle. It's a sanctuary, a place to rest and recover, but also still feel like you can be connected to each other and to the people around you. We're going to be able to feel restored and rested, but also still connected to each other and the people who live around here.
I have a feeling that our front deck is going to be the place where it's quite visible to the street, and it'll be the place where we can be social while still being kind of in our house.
By having the kitchen up here and the deck and the grill, it's really going to be easy to eat here, eat outside. So that is facilitated. So it's not like the grill is in the backyard. We do have a wet bar downstairs that's so that we're assuming sort of pre-dinner cocktails and stuff can move right from the office area right into the backyard.
I think as the world moves forward into an era that it's finally getting recognized amongst most of us, not everybody yet still, but it's recognized now that climate change and sustainability is the most important part for our human race. And so we feel happy at SmartPads that we are coming in a sustainable approach to building. We believe that is going to have to be in the future. Like every aspect of life is going to have considerations without wasting materials, time, gas, everything that goes into preserving our climate and our atmosphere. And so we see a lot of waste getting done on-site construction, and that's has been happening since construction's ever started. But now with the amount of humans we have in the world and the places they need to live, it is one of the key areas that needs to be focused on in saving all this waste. And we'll do our part, and we believe we'll get better at it, and we believe that over time our industry will grow because it's the right place. It's the most efficient way, it's the smartest way to build homes. It's not saying it's for every application, but the current small percentage of the market that it takes is not appropriate to this available solution of prefab, pre-construction, and not wasting a whole lot of materials.
You know, we've lived responsibly in a lot of ways, but in some ways I feel like our generation has taken our eye off the ball as we've worried about, you know, whatever we've worried about, and we have somehow just not paid attention to global warming. I feel like I've had a wake-up call, and that I've had this wake-up call sort of while we've been going through the process of moving to Steamboat and building this house.
My background is in environmental work. The way I got to know Steamboat was in the work around Emerald Mountain. I was involved in protecting Emerald Mountain a number of years ago, in the early 2000s. So when we learned about this availability of this lot right on the shoulder of Emerald Mountain, it was kind of like, we should definitely do this. To have that kind of access within a couple of blocks of home is just really a luxury, and it's something we really value.
One of the things I realized some years ago was that some of my, the days I felt the best were when I didn't get in a car. I just think it just feels better in terms of a way to live.
For people to enjoy the benefits of a healthy environment, you often had to be of a certain class. So to be able to find affordable housing that provides really high quality living is a really great thing.
We believe in that sustainability side, and then when someone has a home, their bills are going to be lower. So everything you see is foam insulation all the way around. When they come together, we will foam in between the units to make sure that they're sealed up tight. To the point now, part of the building code actually has what you call a blower test. They will see what kind of air can get drawn out of the home, and you do not receive a certificate of occupancy until you pass that test. And our houses passed that test.
The way SmartPads has designed this system, it's very fast. It can be done in a matter of months relative to traditional building in this area, which takes years. I mean, it just made sense from a pocketbook standpoint as well. The time also was really valuable to us because we could, you know, as opposed to renting a house for a year and a half, or 2 years while waiting for a build to complete, we could get into this house within 6 months. That saved us a lot of money because, well, for obvious reasons.
Every time we cut wood, rather than in a location that's building on site, they get a piece of wood, they cut it, it goes into the bin. Anything that gets finished gets thrown into a bin. This house used one dumpster, okay? The average house getting built for this size is 4 or 5 dumpster loads of rubbish and garbage that is just because there's nowhere else to put it. But in the indoor facility, we do the cuts. For one, it's all pre-organized, everything's pre-cut and pre-designed for the house, but still you end up with bits and pieces, and those cuts go into spots, and all the extra materials, the extra tile, the extra everything goes into places that we can use for different jobs. Because we stick to a very similar material set, we can then use that for the next job, and it doesn't just get thrown into a dumpster. So that's one part of it. And then back to the human element part of it is we have our houses moving down in the indoor facility, and so the electrician is there, not driving to 4 or 5 different houses. The house is moving to different people. And so rather than people moving to the houses.
We're using some leftover siding from the house to side the hot tub. You know, You have actually pieces in the garage that we're using for other like projects that we're going to be doing in-house. So yeah, I don't think nothing's gone to waste.
We really want to serve people to create beautiful spaces and sustainable homes that really work for their family dynamics and provide them a great lifestyle. And it needs to be done on a custom basis because every human, couple, family has their own wants. And if we can help solve that for them, that makes us happy.
The houses are beautiful and really high ceilings, big windows.
Beautiful outside space. And
Yeah, flexibility around design. It just felt like it had the combination of the things that we were looking for.